Okay, this should have been the first video, but it kind of screwed up here. So we'll do this as the second video in the series. We just talked about the horseshoe reticle. I should have went an overview of the whole reticle at first. So real quick, the reticle. Okay, up here, let's get a close-up of this. This is how your reticle will be looking at 1 power or low power. Looks similar to an EOTech type of a reticle. You have the outer, what we call the speed ring, and that is about 72 MOA. And then you have the inner horseshoe, which is 20 MOA. And you use this for CQB, up close and personal speed, like a EOTech reticle. Okay, here's a little bit bigger, a picture of the reticle in its entirety. Are we good? Okay, so again, here's your speed ring. Now the main features of the reticle, of course you have the horseshoe, which we went over in the previous video. So I'm not going to get into that. Also, in addition to the horseshoe, we have the mill dots on a horizontal and a vertical plane. So if you know how to use mill dots to range or to call for fire, that's what these are for. These are, again, this was designed for the military. From the center dot to the first mill dot is 4 mills, and then every 5th mill dot is designated. It looks a little bit different than the other ones, so you can do quick count very quickly. 5, 10. It's also on the vertical. It's because you get lost when you're counting these quickly. So these are designated. Every 5th one is a little bit different symbol so that you can count them very quickly. Okay. We went over the horseshoe last time. Also a feature of this reticle are the 10-inch hollow circles. These circles, all of these hollow circles are 10 inches at the given distance, or in other words, heads. Ranging on heads. Down the center line, we have a series of aiming dots. The first dot, starting with a horseshoe, in the center of the horseshoe is a 1 MOA dot, 1 inch or 100 yards. The rest of the dots will be 1/2 MOA dots. When we get to 700 yards, the dot size increases to 10 inches at the given distance. And some people will say, well, that's a big aiming point, but like I tell people, for the rifles and the scopes and for what this is designed to do, this is for combat. The idea behind this was 10 inches is about the size of your head. Put it next to a man's head if that's all you see, or if you see it his chest, still put it by his head to give you a quick, down and dirty range estimate. If you see his chest, put that on his chest, start pulling the trigger. Okay, remember that will be smaller than his chest at 700 yards, and subsequently all of these will be smaller than their chest. They're all 10 inches at the given distance. And like I tell people, real world, do you really think you can put all your shots into 10 inches at 700 yards and beyond with these type of rifles under these conditions? And of course the answer to that is no. So for what it's intended to do, it's very realistic. Also, starting here, you will see at 400 yards, we'll get a good close-up on that, you'll see an intermittent aiming point halfway between 400 and 500 yards. Now as we go down, let's go down here to 1,000 yards. Okay, the gap between 1,000 and 1,100 yards gets wider, so we put in more aiming points, which correspond basically to every 25 yards. So here's 1,000, 1,025, 1,050, 1,075, 1,100. Now at 400 there's only one dot because the gap isn't that big, so it's about 450 yards. So these we refer to as aiming points. Now, let's get back up here to 400. All of these gaps to the left and right of the dots, the aiming points down the center line, all of the gaps are referred to as half clicks. Half clicks. All of the dashes are referred to as clicks. Okay, remember the width of all of the half clicks and the dashes, the clicks, is the same. It's 10 inches at the given distance. Always, whether it's at 400 yards or 1,000 yards, it's 10 inches. Okay, we also have lead lines for walking men. This is your walking, to lead a man for walking. And we have aiming points, lead aiming points for running men out to 1,000 yards. So that's what these are. course, these numbers are numerical for the distance to your target, 400, 600, 800, and so on. That pretty much covers the reticle. We're going to get into a little more detail in the next segment.